Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today I thought we would look at some of the free paper that you can still get during celebration. We've got about 4 weeks to go, end of March, and this is a Golden Honey Speciality Designer Series paper. It goes with the Bee Suite, but if you've just picked up this paper and you want to do something with it, I thought that we would do with 3 different sheets. They're both double-sided. You have gold foil on one side, you have plain on the other. So you've got gold foil on that side and you've got plain on the other. I thought we would do something with these to jazz them up a little bit. I really like them, but for me, I'm not really into too much of the monochrome, so I wanted to make them a little bit prettier. So let's start with the lovely bees, and we are going to use the sponge brayer. I will put links to them down below, and we are going to use, there's me standing up to grab my ink without knocking my lights and everything in the way. Right, I'm going to use crushed curry because I want it to be quite a dark background, but not overly overpowering, if you see what I mean. But the sponge brayer is really good for just taking a bit of colour on there. So we're just going to roll it across. The nice thing with the sponge brayers is that they are really nice and soft, which means that you can build up the colour as much as you want or as little as you want. Now I'm covering over the whole thing. It will resist against the gold, and you can wipe that off with a cloth if you want to, but I just want to have a nice sort of soft yellow background, and the crushed curry means I don't have to go over it too many times. Now you can turn it round and do it sideways and up and down to get a completely sort of smooth finish on it, and I find that I don't roll evenly completely across, so I tend to put more pressure on the bottom than the side, whereas if I turn it round, it means that I'm getting colour right the way through. Now you need to be careful about what colour you're going to choose if you're going to do something on top of it, which is what we're doing on this one. So I am going to take this is the Dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm then going to go over the actual body of the bee. So I'm just literally just colouring that in with the blend. I'm only doing it in one colour. It doesn't need to be light and dark or anything like that. We're just giving a little bit of definition. Now if you don't want them to be bees that look like bees, you can do it in any colour you want. But I would make sure that whatever colour you do for your background won't muddy the blend that you put in. Now, because the blends are alcohol, they will saturate the paper more, so you probably won't have that sort of problem. You can see on this that it's literally just going over completely and covering the pale yellow that we had at the bottom. So I'm just covering through all of these ones. Just through on here. I've only got a couple more to do. You're going to have to bear with me for 2 seconds because I just let my little dog out in the garden because it's quite a nice day today. We had sleet and snow this morning, but the sun's out this afternoon, and so where it's been terribly wet and horrible, it's actually got quite nice. I obviously do my videos about a week to 10 days ahead, so by the time this goes live we might have completely different weather, but that's now given quite a nice pretty colour. So 2 seconds while, oh no, she's still out, I don't need to worry about that. Okay, so that's sort of the first one on there, and you could leave it exactly as you want, but you could also take, to just add a little bit of extra in there, is the stamps that I'm using all the time, Painted Poppies, and we've got the little tiny splodge in there. So let's take that to just give a little bit of extra colour in there. Now, I can go for the crushed curry, or I can go for something a bit paler, which is the So Saffron, and I might go for a paler because I don't want it to detract from the bees. So this is So Saffron, and then all I'm going to do is to just, is that going to come out enough? Yes, that's going to be perfect. So all I'm doing now is just rotating this just around, completely sort of randomly, just over the top. So I'm not covering the bees, I'm going round where the bees are, which is this great, is a great little shape. So you can just get just a little bit of extra colour in there for your background. If you wanted it brighter, use the crushed curry, but I wanted it to not, as I say, detract from the bees, but I wanted an extra bit of texture coming through on there. So just work your way round in it where you can see little spaces that you want to add a little bit more in, and make sure you go off the sides as well. And then we have, again, another sort of a little layer of texture in there. So I think that that looks really pretty. Now you can finish it off. I'll show you one I did earlier, and I did it in, this one I did in Calypso, Coral and Bermuda Bay, 2 different tones of the splot. And rather than doing the brayer, I just used my aqua painter and just coloured it over. Put a little sentiment on. And if you've got a little scrap of the end over, which I have, you can always cut out a little bee. And then, and don't worry about cutting out his little antenna and legs and things, because they're very tiny. But just the body of the bee. Pop him up with a dimensional, and then you've got the little bee sort of up in the air. So that's one. Now let's have a look at the second one. So what have I done with those sheets? I put them to one side, and they are, that's the first one. Ah, here they are under the ink pads. Okay, so let's have a look at the second one. So that's going to be our first one. Let's have a look at the second one and see what we're going to do with this one. So this one, again, quite an easy thing to do. This one, what I did is, and I will show you the finished one because it's very simple, very similar to the other. So what I did with this one was I took the So Saffron for the background with the sponge brayer all the way over the top. Then I coloured it in the light Daffodil Delight and the Blushing Bride. Put it onto a back of that one this time so you can see it pop. And then these little tiny flowers I took from the Celebration Thoughtful Blooms, and it's that little tiny one there. So another very simple way of just changing it up a bit, adding a bit of colour. Again, you can do whatever colour background you want. It's just jazzing it up a little bit. So bear with me a second while I get my little dog in. Come on you, in you come. There we go. Right. Okay, back again. Always have things to do while I'm trying to do a video. Okay, so we've done that one. Again, fairly simple. You can put some of the splatters in if you want. You can do whatever you want with that one. Now we're going to go on to this one. Now, this one is going to be a bit of a fun one. And what we're going to do with this is we are just going to take all sorts of different blends, says me, getting the lid off. And we are literally just going to colour in all of the little squares on here. So I'm just going sort of fairly randomly. I'm only going to do part of this because it will take too long to do all of it, but if you just sort of go through, and again it looks really nice if you use as many sort of blends as you have. So that's a red, and I'm literally just going to go across quite sort of randomly in with these. Let me take a let's take a green one. So this is dark granny apple green. So you can take them next to it, you can take them off on the side, but you can colour in just a few at a time, and leave some sort of white space in between, or you can colour the whole thing in. And what I've done with, and I'm literally just pulling them out, this is one of the blues. What was this? Dark balmy blue. And it really doesn't matter what colours you choose, because they will all blend in together quite nicely if you're doing it in a random sort of, almost like the stained glass windows that have all sorts of different colours in. Let's take a, what have we got here? Bermuda Bay. That's a nice one. Let's take a dark Bermuda Bay, and we could even have that next to that one, couldn't we? You can, if you want to, just use a couple of colours and blend it through. As you know, I did the little umbrella on under my umbrella and coloured that in with just 2 colours. But if you're wanting to just jazz up your paper, then, you know, colour it in as many colours as you want. You know, the brighter it is, the nicer it'll look. And as long as you do them, as I say, fairly sort of randomly next to each other, you can get quite a nice sort of tones coming in. So you can see I'm just literally going through like this, and then I'll have this one up on here. Okay, so you're just going to carry on and carry on and carry on until you've filled it all up. And I did one earlier, but I actually messed it up because what I wanted to try and do was, so let me show you this. This is what it looks like when it is all coloured through, and you can see you've got all of the different colours. Then I tried to be quite clever without planning it, and I wanted to do the word love running right the way through in black. Now, if you plan it properly, you could do this, but I didn't, so it hasn't worked. But you can see how you've changed this paper, which is fairly sort of plain, into something which looks really rather nice and vibrant. So that's sort of the last one. I will carry on and finish this, so this will actually appear on the front screen of the video, so you can then see that. But as I say, you could just do some little pieces along, and that looks pretty too. Then we've got this one, which we did in the brayer and then just coloured it in, and you can do that as bright or as plain as you want. We then did this one, which is the lovely bees with the painted poppy splatter background. And then this was the one that I'd done to show you as well, just with sort of a sentiment on there. But you can see how you can change your backgrounds quite easily just by adding a little bit of colour to it. So hope you found that fun. Thanks for watching me. Do look forward to seeing you again. Bye bye.